Do you live your life with regrets that still haunt you? Is there a single choice you'd undo? In the anime Orange, we follow the story of a girl who had many regrets. The most important being the fact she couldn't save the boy she loved, who died 10 years ago during their high school days. Due to some mysterious events, she sent letters to her past self to hopefully save her crush. But what effect would this have on her future? She's already married to another one of their friends, and they have a child together. However, she still can't help but think all their lives would have been better if the boy she first loved were still alive. Can her past self even save him and change their fate? Let's find out. Digging up a time capsule placed 10 years ago from their high school days, 5 friends review the letters to themselves from their past, and view a happy picture enclosed with 6 of them from Kakeru, a friend who isn't with them anymore. Now that our protagonist, Naho Takamiya, has turned 26, she admits having so many regrets. We turn back time 10 years ago to Naho getting hurriedly ready to leave for the first day of her sophomore year of high school. She knocks over a letter that's addressed to her from herself, but she had no time to question it with her nearly being late for school. She kept a diary daily, noting today, April 6th, would be the first time she overslept. At the start of class, she decided to open that letter from herself while concurrently, the teacher mentioned there'd be a transfer student from Tokyo joining their class. The letter read, "To Takamiya Naho-sama, my second-year high self. How are you? I'm writing this letter from 10 years in your future. If you're wondering why I'm writing to you, it's because I need you to do me a favor. I don't want you to make the same mistakes I did, so I'll chronicle the events that are about to happen and the choices I want you to make." Naho flipped to the second page that detailed the fact that she overslept. She was in disbelief that this strange letter had already known this would happen. As the new transfer student was brought in, she simultaneously read in her letter that the new transfer student from Tokyo, Kakeru Naruse, will sit next to her. And oh boy, she was lost seeing this new boy exactly as the letter stated, and that he was assigned to sit next to her as well. Throughout the day, the cautions from the letter were all Naho could think about. At the end of class, Naho's friends, Hiroto Suwa and Azusa Murasaka, invited her to walk home together. And also, they invited the new student Kakeru as well. Kakeru attempted to decline the invitation, given he had something else to do. However, all of the friends insisted they get to know each other. But the letter warned Naho not to invite him. She wondered why though. Walking home together, Suwa introduced everyone, starting with Saku Hakita, then Naho, then Chino Takako, and the rest. Azu came running in to tell them all the bread from her family's bakery was still prepping, and they all joked about various things, making Kakeru smirk and crack into laughter. Everyone was having so much fun, so Naho was glad they invited him. They eventually got their buns from Azu's family, and enjoyed their time together with both Naho and Kakeru particularly fixated on each other. They continued their hangout, exploring and running around town together until the evening where they all said goodbye. As Naho logged in her diary, she compared what she had written to the letter she received, noting that what was written and the handwriting being exactly the same. This was all too eerie. Ooh. Just like it'd be eerie for you to not like this video and subscribe to my channel. Man, that'd be super spooky. Because here on my Shoujo Weekly, I've got plenty of fun stories to share with you involving romance and mystery. I also live stream, where we discuss interesting anime topics and do some gaming. I'd love to see you there. The next day, Naho stared at Kakeru's empty desk. Since none of the friends had his number, they had no idea what was up. But he continued to not show up for quite some time. Naho didn't do as the letter advised, and wondered if it had anything to do with why he was absent. She tried to read the next letter, hoping to get an answer about Kakeru's absence, only to discover the letter told her on April 20th she should accept being the pinch hitter for a softball game she previously refused, but was surprised the letter also told her she'd fall in love with Kakeru on that day. The 20th came, and with the girls passing by the boys, they learned Kakeru had been ditching school for the past 2 weeks, but he was full of smiles. Later, at the softball game, just as the letter stated, Naho was asked to be the pinch hitter. Seeing that the odds were against her, she got nervous and tried to decline. Even though the girls continued to push for her to join, Kakeru told them not to, because her foot was hurt. So, Azu stepped up, which was what the letter said would happen and their team would lose because of it. Naho didn't want to burden them because she was insecure, so she got up and accepted her position. She knew one day the pain in her foot would eventually fade, but the regret wouldn't. Not even in 10 years. Who she was presently didn't want to live the next 10 years regretting this. With the pitcher throwing her second ball, Naho hits it out of the park, ultimately winning the softball event for her class. Stumbling her way out, Kakeru came with first aid to treat her. He knew her PE shoe size was too small, but she refused to tell anyone about it because she felt it was too late. She was fine enduring the pain, because it'd just be her loss, as long as she wasn't a bother to others. She was always like this. Kakeru could tell because he'd been watching her. After he finished patching her up, Naho told him she'd been watching him too, and that he should join the soccer club. He responded that watching her hit that home run inspired him, and that next year, he'd definitely play soccer. So she better watch him because he's better than Suwa. Everything in that letter really did happen. Naho wondered if herself 10 years in the future had one less regret now. As future Naho stared at the beautiful city, her husband Suwa came carrying flowers and their child. He brought the bouquet specifically for Kakeru, and writing another letter to her past self, she told past Naho she would have a lot of happiness and joy ahead of her. She wrote these letters because she didn't want her 16-year-old self to have regrets she'd carry for the rest of her life. But past Naho could have never predicted the next part of the letter that said Kakeru wouldn't be there with them in the future, and a plea for her to keep an eye on him. During lunch, with Suwa deciding to buy lunch with Saku, Kakeru decided to join in because his mom wouldn't make him any. Naho was concerned, knowing her letter told her he'd say that, and she'd respond by offering to make him lunch for tomorrow, but then ended up not doing it. Her friends complimented her lunchbox because Naho was very artistic, having her rice shaped into koalas. It was so cute. As the friends all laughed, Naho could hardly believe Kakeru wouldn't be with them all in the future. After class, Suwa invited Kakeru to soccer practice because he heard Kakeru was better than him at soccer from Naho. Kakeru then came over and bopped her head, telling her not to say that. Watching their soccer practice, Naho was blown away by how cool Kakeru looked. He really was good at the game. He apparently had been playing since elementary school, and even though the girls gave him all the credit, Suwa wanted some praise too since he was the one who passed him the ball. But of course, the one who scores is cooler. Suwa then invited Kakeru to join the club. However, he was hesitant for some reason. But after 9 whole minutes of convincing, he eventually accepted, but only on a provisional basis. Suwa was over the moon to hear he'd join. Naho then handed Suwa's jacket that she finished fixing, since it had a button loose, prompting Kakeru to comment that she was very motherly. The girls then praised her for her artistic lunches, making Kakeru excited enough to ask her for one. She agreed, but he said he wasn't being serious. Naho knows Kakeru said he was just kidding, but she really wanted to make one for him. She hesitated though, thinking maybe it'd be a bother for him. She lied in bed, looking at the letter to herself from the future that read she regretted not making Kakeru's lunch. So she got up and started prepping, with her mother questioning why she was getting so into it. The lunches were eventually finished, and with her mother still questioning, Naho avoided the answer, only packing up and taking off. However, her parents were just happy their daughter had found a boy she liked. In class, when Kakeru greeted her, she was shaking from nervousness. Her plan was to give it to him quickly at lunch, and then run away. The lunch bell came, and she shuddered, but trying to call out to Kakeru, he'd already left with the boys. She just couldn't get the words out. After school, Kakeru decided to walk together with Naho to the school entrance, as he had practice to get to. While getting their shoes, he commented that her bag looked bigger today, and offered to help her carry it. But as he touched it, she pulled away abruptly. Things were awkward. So he apologized, leaving with a somewhat saddened look on his face. But she was just as sorry. She convinced herself it took more than just a letter to change a person's personality. She wished she had never read it, but turned back on her regrets. She waited for Kakeru's practice to finish at the entrance, where she apologized but then tried to flee. Kakeru stopped her though, telling her they should walk home together, and so they did. They made very pleasant small talk along the way, even though Naho wasn't very responsive. And sitting down on a bench, Kakeru exclaimed how hungry he was from practice. They continued to make small talk until Naho asked what he was up to during the past 2 weeks he took off from school. and that's when he opened up that his mother died. She committed self-end on the day of their opening ceremony. He was absent for the funeral and had to move to his grandma's. He was reluctant to join any clubs initially because he promised his mother he wouldn't, but apologized to Naho since he suddenly brought up such a heavy topic. Naho felt terrible. The letter said not to invite Kakeru on the day of the opening ceremony, so why did she invite him out? The letter was sent so she could erase her regrets. While heading out, she finally presented the lunch she had made for him, admitting she wanted to give it to him for lunch, but couldn't bring herself to. She kept shaking because every fiber of her being kept telling her to run away as fast as she could. But as Kakeru took the lunch, he was honest, saying he'd been hoping the entire time that she'd make him lunch. It made him so happy. Naho then told him she'd bring another one for him tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that, every day, and even give him a good morning wake-up call on the days he'd have trouble getting up. Kakeru was shocked, but laughed with joy, exclaiming she was just like a mom. Naho was determined to keep Kakeru smiling even 10 years from now and forever. Future Naho met up back at Saku's van with her family and friends. The girls teased that the baby looked just like her, and joked about how he didn't get any of Suwa's looks at all. Everyone here had gifts to give to their deceased friend, Kakeru, who passed away in an accident in the winter 10 years ago. He left them all behind, along with each and every one of their promises. And with past Naho reading that every one of the friends was filled with regret, knowing he could have been saved, she wanted to save him. Learning that on May 1st, Kakeru would end up quitting the soccer club, Naho asked herself to convince him to join, because something tells her at heart he does want to stay an official member. However, when the boys come in, Suwa announces that Kakeru already joined, having hassled him into it. This surprised Naho, because the future was already changing. The day was pleasant, as the friends had fun hanging out and enjoying their time together at lunch. Constantly thinking about how happy she was about things becoming positive, Kakeru tapped Naho's forehead with a book, wondering what she was so happy about. He told her to keep her eyes forward, otherwise she might bump into something, and she smiled silently, touching her forehead, fixated on his playful touch. And that's when her next obstacle appeared. Ryo Ueda, an upperclassman who greeted Kakeru. She apparently watched the boys every day during soccer practice. Naho wondered if she was interested in Kakeru. Naho silently followed behind Kakeru back to class, and he stopped, asking her to give him wake-up calls starting tomorrow, since he had morning practice. She was happy to, until she heard she'd have to call him at 5 a.m. Reading her letters that night, she learns tomorrow Ryo would confess to Kakeru at school, and that the two of them would start going out together soon after. This left an ache in Naho's heart. While wiping herself off during practice, Kakeru spotted Naho carrying supplies that were a little heavy for her, and decided to help out, teasingly calling her a gopher. He had really come to thank her for waking him up in the morning, but then suddenly asked if there was a guy she liked. She let out a tiny shriek of, no, because she felt she couldn't be so open with her feelings. She then asked him the same question, and he casually responded, nope. But when asking about Ryo, he responded, I like her looks. Oh man, don't ask questions you don't want the answer to, Naho. Back in the classroom, Naho was fixated on the fact that her crush thought another woman was pretty. Her friends were trying to bring her back to earth, only for her to utter, I want plastic surgery. They then played rock, paper, scissors, and since Kakeru lost, he had to get them all drinks. With his arms full, Ryo approached him for a talk. She asked him out, just like the letter predicted, and Kakeru casually told the friends he'd give her an answer after break. Naho still had important information from the letter about today though. Kakeru would tell her he forgot his pen case during 4th period, so she would offer hers. As class went on, she kept thinking about how she didn't want him to date Ryo, but maybe it was also unfair of her to feel that way. Kakeru handed the pencil and eraser back, and Naho's future self told her to take off the eraser cover because inside was a note from Kakeru that she missed that day, a message that if she had noticed, might have changed the future. Naho didn't pull out the eraser cover initially, trying to push it off by losing herself in her class duties. But afterwards, when she finally read the message, it was Kakeru asking her if it was okay for him to go out with Ryo. Naho wrote down her answer on a piece of paper and bolted to the shoe cubbies, placing her answer in one of Kakeru's shoes. But walking back to class and seeing Kakeru chatting with Ryo outside the window, They spotted Rio running away and smiling. He answered yes to going out with her. Having her hopes crushed, Naho sadly walked out of the classroom with Suwa following behind her. He then said, "You like Kakeru, don't you?" Naho looked at him, shaking in pain, and then ran off. She kept running, apologizing to her future self for not being able to erase another regret. As Kakeru read her response after the fact, she should have told him her answer in person. Reaching home, she walked upstairs without any dinner. She just wasn't hungry. She plopped face first right onto her bed, overwhelmed in emotion, eventually drinking the juice Kakeru got for her while crying. It tasted sweet, sour, and full of sorrow. We turned back to the future, where Naho had written her dream was to be a nursery school student. The friends all had dreams. Suwa wanted to become a professional soccer player, Azu wanted to marry a rich guy and live easy, Takako wanted to be a world-renowned model, and Saku wanted to be a doctor. Perhaps they were all a little too ambitious though, since none of them achieved their dream jobs. Looking at Kakeru's note, they decided to peek in to see what he had wished for. It read, "Dear everyone 10 years in the future, how are all you doing? To Suwa, you're tall and great at soccer. I admire you." Azu didn't believe this at first, thinking Suwa was just glazing himself. But no, it really did say that. Continuing, "When I started at the new school, I was worried I wouldn't fit in. You were the first person to talk to me, which made me really happy. I wish I had joined the soccer club. To Azu, you're always cheerful and full of energy. Whenever I felt down, one look at you would make my troubles seem so silly and I'd cheer up. To Saku, during breaks, you taught me the rules of comedy I didn't really understand, but you always made me laugh. It was a lot of fun. To Takako, you have a manly personality and it can be scary when you get mad, but it's always on behalf of Naho or Azu. One time, when you got seriously angry defending Naho, I thought you were super cool. To Naho, you're modest and you put others ahead of yourself. When everyone else is happy, you seem happy too. When you, Azu, and Takako made cookies in cooking class, yours tasted the best. I wish I'd had a chance to try your home cooking. I hope even 10 years from now, you're all still good friends who laugh together. Kakeru Naruse." The friends were shocked. Kakeru didn't write anything for his future. The mood was saddened because he only thought of them, deciding by himself he wouldn't be with them. They cried, now realizing his death might not have been an accident. Suwa then decided they should go to Kakeru's house to celebrate his birthday, to make up for the fact they couldn't celebrate it 10 years ago. The friends weren't as close as they used to be, but decided they'd reignite their friendships today. After Kakeru's mother passed away, he lived with his grandmother. This was their second visit here as a group. The last time was for Kakeru's funeral. Sitting down at the table, the friends were surprised Granny Naruse remembered each and every one of their names. But she explained she only remembered because Kakeru would talk about them all the time, especially Naho. Naho only felt more remorse for being unable to save him. She wanted to talk to him so much more. She had never found the courage to talk to him, so all she had left were regrets. Naho was down, even hanging out with her friends over the weekend, all because Kakeru wasn't there with them, instead hanging out with his girlfriend. They continued to play and wander around town, enjoying themselves best as they could. On her way to school, Naho wondered whatever happened with that note she put in Kakeru's shoe. At the Cubbies, Kakeru greeted her, then asked why she didn't wake him up this morning. He actually ended up oversleeping a little. He wondered if she forgot. But no, she didn't. She told him that now he has a girlfriend. She didn't think it'd be okay if she called him. Also, she didn't make him lunch today. He smiled with a hint of sadness, responding, "I see," then thanked her for all the lunches she made for him, because he really appreciated it. As he began taking off, she went after him, wanting to say how she really felt. But with Rio coming to get her man, Naho just said, it was nothing, only getting to watch the two hold hands as they walked away together. During lunch, Rio was all over him, talking his ear off about how the town they were in, Matsumoto, was only nature and mountains. She was more interested in city life, like where he was from, but he only responded to her very shortly, just going along with whatever she asked. The girls in the friend group didn't like Rio in particular though. She was always eating up his time and he wasn't hanging out with them anymore. Naho regretted not telling him he shouldn't go out with Rio to his face. Even though she knows the future, she's the one who has to make the choice. The friends then stepped outside to get drinks, spotting Rio still dragging Kakeru around. With Naho still expressing sadness looking at the two, Takako asked if she was hiding something from them, but she denied hiding anything. That night, Naho read the letters that told during lunch Kakeru would call out to her. She avoided him, but wanted past Naho to answer him this time, and not just wait around, but also for her to start initiating conversation on her end. However, Naho thought there was no way she could do that. The day came when Kakeru spotted her by herself, so he ran after, calling out to Naho saying he wanted to talk. Ryo showed up right behind him though, compelling Naho to run away. She didn't want to upset Ryo. She didn't want to get in Kakeru's way. She was fine not being able to talk to him. She was annoyed at her future self, who made it seem like doing the right thing would be easy in hindsight, but she just couldn't bring herself to do it. She would then continue to avoid Kakeru a number of times, exactly as the letter was written. She knew on May 21st after school, after she said bye-bye to Kakeru, he would get into a fight with his girlfriend, so she refrained. But for some reason, Kakeru passed by her and said bye-bye instead. She tried calling out to him, and that's when Ryo bumped through her to see her boyfriend. He got frustrated, asking why Ryo knocked Naho over. She played it off, saying it was an accident, causing him to tell her to apologize. Seeing Kakeru check on Naho, Ryo screamed, saying it was his fault because he was always talking to her. She didn't want him talking to other girls, but watching him offer his hand to Naho, Ryo called him an idiot and ran off. Naho didn't accept his hand, however, instead apologizing and running away. Suwa stopped her, telling her not to run. This wasn't in the letter. Was the future changing again? She confessed that Kakeru fought with his girlfriend because she called out to him. She thought that it wasn't right for her to talk to him like she used to, but truthfully, there was plenty she wanted to say to him. As tears fell from her eyes, Suwa argued there was nothing wrong with her talking to him. They were all supposed to be friends. He playfully told her Kakeru was also giving him a headache, since he wasn't focusing at all during practice. It was clear to him that Kakeru felt down because he wanted to talk to her, but he could never find the right opportunity. Naho asked if this was true for reassurance, and Suwa wondered how Kakeru could talk to her if she kept running away. Now having sense talked into her, she ran, determined to talk it out with Kakeru. Watching him cross the crosswalk, she called out to him and shouted making lunch for him wasn't tough at all, and she enjoyed doing it. She then apologized for not answering his call the other day and asked what he wanted to say. She ran to him, panting out of breath as he told her she was too late because he forgot. The two sat down to talk, and he opened up about wanting to break up with Ryo, realizing deciding to date based on looks alone was a pretty bad idea. Naho wondered if it was because of their fight, but no, it was actually because she told him no in the note she had written. He felt awful not being able to talk to Naho, and besides, there's somebody he's more interested in than Ryo. But he only figured that out while dating her. Who this person was a secret though, which I think the answer is pretty obvious. But somehow, Naho wondered if her future self knew who this person he liked was. Reading the letter for May 24th, we learned Kakeru was going to be absent for 1 week, starting today. It's been 49 days since the death of his mother. The letter had also said the friend group should be walking home together after school, but for some reason, the friends all make excuses, leaving Naho and Kakeru walking home alone together. The two catch an amazing view of the city, where Kakeru asks Naho to close her eyes. He snapped a surprise picture, giving her a hair clip as a gift. He really wanted to thank her for all the times she made him lunch and woke him up for soccer practice, so she thanked him back, smiling with tears. He then tells her when she had first made lunch for him, that his grandma felt so bad, she offered to make him lunch every day instead. He turned her down though, because he just wanted to keep eating the lunches Naho made. On Saturday, he invited her out to study with him in the library, where Ryo spotted the two, and she wasn't too happy. The two continued to study, with Kakeru giving Naho occasional flirtatious looks. July 4th, the students received their exams back, and Kakeru got the highest grades. The teacher began talking about time machines, asking the students if they would ever go back in time to give their past selves the answer, making Naho question if her future self was using such a device. The teacher elaborated on the idea of a black hole capable of warping space-time for time travel. Saku then raised an important point. If one were to go back in time, then there would be no need for someone in the past to grow up and go back in time. So, their teacher explained there exists an answer to this: parallel world theory, a theory that hypothesizes multiple different futures. each of which branches off into its own world. With parallel worlds, if you change the past, it would simply create another timeline with absolutely zero influence on your current world. There's no way to change the past of the world you reside in. And if you're wondering why I'm spending so much depth on this, it's because it's important to the plot. After class, the friends continue to discuss more about parallel worlds, with Naho noticing the contents of her letters are now matching less and less with her current world. She's now realizing that a different world of theirs exists where, no matter what, Kakeru is dead. Back in the future, we learned Kakeru had sent Naho a text right before he passed away. It ended up being the last text he ever sent, reading, "Naho, I'm so sorry. I did something that angered you, and I can't get it out of my mind. I know that it was wrong, and that I hurt you. This is out of the blue, but who did you give the Valentine's Day chocolate to? I guess I don't really expect an answer to that. Anyway, I just wanted to apologize. That's all. Thank you, Naho." She still wonders to this day if he ever saw her response. Back in the past, Kakeru was excited to eat another lunch made by Naho. He asked her if she could choose, would she rather go to the past or future? Naho answered the future, so she could use the knowledge to change the present. Kakeru answered the past, so that he could erase his regrets. Even if he couldn't change the past, he hopes something he'd learned would at least lighten the burden he feels. She wonders what burdens, but Kakeru didn't answer. Walking together, Naho asked him out to the cultural festival because she wanted to watch the fireworks with him, not with their friends, just the two of them, and this made him blush. She couldn't believe she was so forward. She'd never done something like this before in her entire life. Chatting with Suwa, Kakeru asked if it was okay for him and Naho to watch the fireworks alone, since he knew Suwa also liked her, and Suwa was at a loss for words. On the school roof, Azu and Takako told Suwa they'd give all their encouragement to Naho and Kakeru. Suwa said it was fine because he'd be happy for them, plus he had no shot against Kakeru anyways. He seemed somewhat sad, but was good at cheering himself up. With Naho wandering the halls by herself, Ryo spots and wants to talk with her for a minute privately. She begins to hassle Naho, asking if she's going out with Kakeru, but then gets her cronies to try to snag the hairpin he got Naho. When one of them reaches out, Naho slaps the hand away, and that's when Suwa enters to rescue her. Her future self had told her Suwa seemed to really care about her, so she should thank him every time he does something nice for her. Later, Kakeru bandaged Naho's hand up, admitting it was Suwa's idea, so she cheerfully thanked him for everything, and this made his eyes water. Naho wondered if herself in the future sent the letters knowing that the past couldn't be changed. Maybe nothing could be done to save her future self from sadness and regret, but now she was certain future Naho was moving forward. On July 15th, Suwa traded posts with Naho again for the last day of the festival. That way, she could spend time with Kakeru. Kakeru thought he'd ask her a small question just to pass the time. If one of the three boys asked her out, who would she choose? This of course made her flustered, because Naho was also so shy about this kind of stuff. Azu then butted in with the water, asking him who he'd choose to ask out of the three girls. And he didn't answer either, but Naho really wanted to know. Suwa tells Kakeru he should have answered Naho, but Kakeru wondered if it was okay for him to even fall in love with her. He's made a lot of wrong choices and regretted them. He's scared he might hurt someone. That's why he'd rather not choose at all. In the evening, Kakeru and Naho promised each other they'd watch the fireworks by the pool, but watching those two from behind, Ryo is still fuming. After watching the festival show, Kakeru tells Naho to go on ahead to the pool, so he can get a quick word in with Suwa. Kakeru still has doubts about allowing himself to love, but Suwa encourages him, saying he needs to move forward. Following Naho on her way, she gets harassed by Ryo and her group, who threaten to take her hairpin if she doesn't handle their box-carrying duties for them. Ryo then tried to get into the pool area to take Naho's place, but Suwa told her it was off-limits, while Saku added that Kakeru was looking for her in the soccer club room. The fireworks began, and Naho was distraught, not wanting to miss her time with Kakeru. Luckily, her friends showed up and offered to take the boxes off of her, freeing her up so she could sprint to him, while Ryo got a much-deserved defeat, hissed that she'd been misled. Naho made it to the pool area, and Kakeru was happy to see her wearing the hairpin he got her. He was worried she was going to miss the fireworks. Standing side by side, she went back to the question he asked earlier today, saying she'd prefer if he was the one to ask her out. He then answered out of the three girls, he'd choose her as well. They were both so happy. The two then held hands as the fireworks lit off. and Kakeru thanked her for watching them with him, because it's something he'd remember for the rest of his life, and his words were something Naho would remember for the rest of hers. On another day, the letters tell Naho she and her friends will go to the Bonbon Festival on August 4th. The same letter reads, "I think Kakeru's regret is not being able to save his mother. I want you to save him from this regret. If you can do that, you may be able to stop the accident from happening." Naho wondered what this meant. If she knows the day of the accident, couldn't she just prevent it? She opened her drawer for more letters she hadn't read, having been too scared to read too far ahead, but finding the day of his death, one day after Valentine's on the 15th. The original diary entry assumed his death to be an accident, but future Naho annotated that Kakeru was riding his bicycle when he darted out in front of a speeding truck, only to learn 10 years later it wasn't an accident. He self-ended, so the friends had only one regret. They let him die. Back in the future, the friends all looked at Kakeru's childhood pictures with his grandma. That's where Suwa asked if his death truly was an accident, and the rest of the friends wanted to know as well. So, the grandma pulled out the last note that Kakeru left behind. It read, "Grandma, I'm sorry I've made it so hard on you. If anything happens to me, please tell everyone it was an accident. I'm going to see Mom to apologize to her. Thank you for everything." Everyone's hearts started breaking in that room. The grandma wished she could have done more, but just like everyone else, it was too late. On the day of the Bonbon Festival, Naho reviewed the part of the letter that told her to ask Kakeru about his mother. She believed he was still carrying the burden of not being able to save her, and wanted past Naho to relieve some of the pain. It followed with, "I want you to keep Kakeru from choosing death. I want you to help shoulder his burdens. I want you to save Kakeru's heart." Kakeru met up with her and the two complimented each other's outfits. They then both got a text, learning all of their friends were going to be late. So it'd just be the two of them for a while? Oh, they were watching from afar to push the two onto a date. While the friends enjoyed the festival as a four, Naho and Kakeru had fun on their end too. Taking a break somewhere, Naho asked who was the person he was interested in, and he responded he's a bit more than interested. Right now, he's in love with her, somewhat dampening her mood because for some reason, she assumes he's not talking about her. At the shrine, they make their wishes. Naho explains she wished for his happiness, while Kakeru admits he sent a prayer as a message to his mother, but what he said was a secret. The words from the letter then rang through her mind. Sitting alone together on a bench, Naho asked once again what he told his mother back at the shrine. He reiterated that it was a secret. She then asked to learn anything about his mother, but he refused, and you can feel the sadness coming from his face. Naho decided to keep going. She asked if what he meant by regrets was that he felt responsible for his mother's death. She then turned back to see him crying. He thought she would have hated him if he told her about it. He had many regrets, the biggest one being what happened the day of the opening ceremony. His mother always had health problems. That day, she was going to a new hospital for the first time, so he promised he'd go with her. But he was so glad to have been invited to walk home with all of them, so he sent a message to his mother telling her he couldn't go with her. He assumed he could have apologized to her later, but he never got a reply. His mother had become psychologically unstable. She couldn't do anything without him around. He knew she needed his support, but he didn't know that was all it would take to push her to commit self-end. He felt he'd done a terrible thing. Naho thought he was wrong. Given she had the answer in her letters, she blamed herself. Kakeru then added that he asked God to tell his mom that he was sorry. The two cried until he got up, asking for a little alone time. They sat on separate benches. Naho felt helpless, unable to lift his burden. She had no idea what to say to him. She questioned what it meant to save someone. On another day, she sat in her room crying her eyes out, thinking there was no way she could save him. Suwa came to her place to ask where Kakeru was. Since he hadn't been coming to practice lately, she wondered if he might understand. Because she felt she couldn't keep doing this alone, she began to open up about the letters. But before she could start, Suwa smiled, saying he'd been getting letters too. The two sat under the shade, where Suwa shared the letter he received. His future self also wanted to help erase regrets and wanted him to not invite Kakeru to walk home with them on opening ceremony day. Unfortunately, he didn't read the letter until he got home after the fact. His future self also pleaded with him to save Kakeru, but he wanted Naho to help him with something. His letter revealed Kakeru's birthday was on September 14th, and everyone only learned afterwards and couldn't celebrate it. So, he wanted her to pester Kakeru about the date and what he wanted. The two enacted their plan at school, and with Kakeru easily saying his birthday, the friends were all on the move to get him something. Noticing the small bag he was carrying, Naho considered getting him a sports bag. That's when he admitted he used to have one. When he had first moved to Matsumoto, his mom had thrown it out, since he promised her he wasn't going to join any clubs at his new school. But Naho was definitely determined to get it for his birthday present. However, walking out of the classroom, Ryo confronted her, saying she'd get it for him instead. Bro, what is this girl's problem? He already dumped her. Moving Naho's back against the wall, Ryo told her she wasn't a good match for Kakeru. That's when Takako and Azu showed up, saying exactly what I was thinking. Kakeru dumped her and she needs to move on. Ryo then called Takako a bitch. This made Takako want to throw hands, stopping herself from finishing a smack, and this scared Ryo off into admitting she was finally done. After witnessing the event, walking home with Suwa, Kakeru felt he hadn't been able to do anything for Naho. Suwa kept pestering Kakeru to tell him what he wanted for his birthday, so he answered, a bouquet of flowers. We turn to the future, where Suwa brought just that. As the friends began wishing Kakeru a happy 18th birthday they were never able to celebrate, Suwa then hands the bouquet to Naho. It had always been Kakeru's wish to do that himself, but she wondered why her. The friends then explained Kakeru was always in love with her, causing her to tear up. She always wondered about the girl he said he was interested in. Now having passed 10 years ago, with his spirit being the one to give her flowers, she wondered what he would say if he was still around. In one of the classrooms, the friends wished him a happy birthday. Azu and Takako got him tickets to the soccer game. Saku got him a manga book he really wanted, and Naho got him a new sports bag. Suwa then presented the small bouquet of flowers Kakeru asked for, making most of the friends tease him. However, Suwa told him he couldn't run now, so Kakeru presented the flowers to Naho, just like he had always wished for. The friends took an exit so the two could have their alone time. Kakeru then brings up again how he'd ask her out of the 3 girls, but really admits he'd ask her out no matter how many girls there were. He knows he didn't buy these flowers himself, but he hoped she understood how he really felt. In Suwa's letters, he brought up how he didn't support Kakeru and Naho being together in the past. But when Kakeru died, and Naho became a sobbing wreck, one of his regrets was not doing a better job of looking after the both of them. So he wished for his past self to take better care of them. That way, all the friends could smile together 10 years from now. On another day, things seemed better. The friends were doing what they usually did at school, until Suwa took Naho aside to ask her what her letters said for September 23rd. They learn on this day, Kakeru attempted self-end and was taken to the hospital unconscious, having to be absent from school for several days. Suwa's letters said the same thing, but hoped that with their timelines diverging somewhat now, that this might not happen. The apparent circumstances that caused this was Kakeru meeting his friends who visited from Tokyo, and when he told them about what happened to his mother, they laughed at him. Future Naho reflected back on Kakeru, asking who she was going to give her chocolate to for Valentine's Day. It was for him, but she was just too nervous to give it. Staring out the window, Kakeru kept thinking about his mother asking him to come home right away after school on opening ceremony day, and how on that day, he texted her, "I don't think I can go anymore. You're not a child. You can go alone. Stop bothering me." Still looking out, he uttered, "Whoosh," making Naho question what the whoosh was about. He explained he was wondering if he jumped from here, could he just fly away, like Superman? And reasonably, Naho was distraught. She told him he couldn't, and he laughed it off, saying it wasn't serious, saying if he was Superman, then maybe his mother would have been saved. Then hit her with a, "Just kidding," again. Man, all the depression really hitting, huh? Even Naho knows he's acting weird right now. He adds that he's meeting up with his Tokyo friends this Saturday, and that's when Suwa enters, telling him not to and to hang out with them instead. Suwa asks him straight up, why won't he talk to them about what's hurting him? Kakeru felt because they were so close to him, he only wanted them to laugh when they were together. Suwa challenged this, responding, because they're close friends. They didn't want to laugh not knowing what he was going through. Suwa then asked, have you ever thought you wanted to die? Making Kakeru tear up, admitting he did. Every single day. He blamed himself for breaking his promise to his mother. Suwa then came in for a hug, telling him to stop regretting, telling him he didn't do anything wrong. Naho said the same thing. She wanted him to know that he was wanted, and confessed that she loved him too. She loved him so much and didn't want him to leave her. He smiled. He wasn't expecting her to answer him, but he was so thankful for everyone. During class on another day, Naho watched as Saku prodded Kakeru to let him listen in on the music he was listening to. Kakeru noticed her looking, and putting one of his earbuds in her ears. Their eyes met. He told her he canceled his plans to meet his Tokyo friends, and would be hanging out with Suwa instead. The friends all then laughed joyously about something else, and Naho felt that thanks to the letter, she was able to say how she truly felt and has changed for the better. Later, while the girls watched soccer practice, Kakeru suddenly passed out, so they took him to the infirmary. He'd been feeling a little dizzy, and that's when Azu teased that if he passes out like that again, his girlfriend might laugh at him. However, he plainly said Naho wasn't his girlfriend. They never made anything official, even though Azu reasoned if two people loved each other, they should date. He felt things weren't that simple though, because if they started going out, he might hurt her somehow. He'd rather they be happy and have a good time without dating, but admitted he really did love her. Naho understood how he felt. Also, if they started dating right now, the future might take a completely different turn, and if that happens, they might not have the guidance of the letters to help save him. By her place in the shade again, Suwa apologized to Naho for not being able to get Kakeru to go out with her. They also explained that Kakeru collapsing was in neither of their letters, so that was a new event only born in their world. Suwa surmises it must be due to him being new to the soccer club, and he'd been working himself twice as hard, wearing himself thin. Suwa wondered if inviting him to the soccer club was the right thing to do, but Naho assured him it was fine. Since Kakeru seemed happy while playing, we moved to October 1st, where the letters predict every class in their school is going to choose 6 people to run in a relay race competition. Kakeru was chosen first, given he had the fastest time during the 100-meter dash. But the letters state that during the day of the meet, he's so anxious, he suddenly twists his ankle and falls, resulting in their loss and him feeling bad for it. So future Naho wanted her to find a way to get him out of the race. Suwa and Naho both tried to talk him out of it, but they weren't expecting him to respond that he was looking forward to it, thinking he might be useful. He was happy to be picked. Suwa continued to prod, reminding everyone that Kakeru passed out the other day and was worried something else might happen. So, Kakeru backed out, giving Suwa his position. Then everyone felt bad. Suwa now wondered if he should have done that. During class, Kakeru was about to tell the teacher Suwa would be replacing him, but then Takako got up, asking to take part in the race. Then, Azu said the same thing. They told the class they wanted to race with Kakeru. Suwa then asked for a spot as well, and then Naho. And finally, with Azu constantly nagging Saku, he agreed to take part as well. Now the 6 would be representing their class in the race. After class, Kakeru came up to Naho, admitting he was even more eager to be in the race now. Naho and Suwa had made a different choice than what their letters said to do, but they felt this was still correct. So, Naho said she'd stop relying on her letters. Instead, she was going to try thinking about what would make Kakeru the happiest, and act on that. On the next day, the friends were testing Saku's run time, and somehow, every new attempt he gets slower. He's the slowest in their class apparently, but the friends were fine with it, since the goal was for all of them to happily race together, no matter what place they got. Heading back to class, Saku asked Azu to hang out with him alone after school. After class, as Naho and Kakeru headed out to the school doors, Naho tripped and fell onto him. She quickly got off, apologizing, and that's when Kakeru offered his hand. She asked, "What?" Then with a sad look, he responded, "Nothing, really," and headed off to soccer practice. Saku was doing his own practice with Azu, only getting slower with every attempt. She wondered why he invited her out, since the others were much better than her at this. And that's when he told her there was something he wanted to talk to her about. While Naho lied in bed, she wondered if Kakeru was trying to tell her something with his hand gesture. Girl, he was obviously trying to hold your hand. Do your insecurities make you stupid? She went to reach out for the letters out of habit, but stopped, because she said she wasn't going to rely on them anymore. After school, she was the one who asked Kakeru to walk with her to the school doors for the first time, making him quite happy. Walking down the stairs, he offered his hand again, but she just asked him what was wrong. Again, he responded, "Nothing," and headed off to practice. Suwa came by and reminded her she wasn't alone. She could rely on the rest of the friends, who were right behind them. On the rooftop, Naho explains Kakeru has been weirdly holding out his hand towards her, but never saying a word. The girls then broke out in laughter, because everyone here knew the poor guy just wanted to hold her hand. Well, everyone except Naho. The friends told her to rely on them more, and that's when Suwa suggested it was time to tell them everything. So, she explained how she got letters from the future that told her to save Kakeru, and begged for their help. The girls said, sure, glad she finally asked because they had letters too? Naho teared up. Suwa learned pretty recently because Azu and Takako had prodded him because he seemed like he was hiding something. He didn't think they'd believe him when he told them he got a letter from himself 10 years in the future. But all 5 of them had been receiving letters all along. Azu then made Saku show his, and now fully united, Naho was relieved she didn't have to handle this alone. This would be a friendship that had never changed, even 10 years from now. All the friends' letters spoke in favor of supporting Naho and saving Kakeru. With them all cheering her on, she felt like a weight had been lifted off of her shoulders. The next event they had to deal with was Azu's birthday on October 5th. After everyone gave her gifts, she recalled a heavy downpour after school. Kakeru didn't bring an umbrella and asked to walk under Naho's, but Azu gave him her spare, and thus the boys and girls walked home together under different umbrellas. Heading to their living room, Azu's little sister told her it wasn't going to rain tomorrow, so Azu prayed for it, since she needed it to rain for the event to happen. However, she was disappointed with the beautiful, bright, and sunny day. When they wished her a happy birthday, she poorly acted like she had no idea they were going to do that, and the friends laughed at it. While she opened her gifts, it actually ended up raining. Kakeru wondered why they all had umbrellas given the forecast said no chance of rain. So, Naho offered hers, saying she'd share with Azu, but he told her he wanted to walk with her. Ooh. While walking home together, Kakeru tried to get closer so she wouldn't get soaked, and she ended up getting startled and knocking the umbrella away. They decided to take cover for a bit, where Kakeru felt it was just like the time she stumbled onto him at the shoe cubbies. Them touching really made him happy. So, Naho offered her hand and he took it. He then asked her out, claiming if she said yes, he'd definitely go out with her. But she said it was okay because she'd be happy even if they weren't a couple? And him too? What is wrong with these two? On October 14th, the day of the school competition, Kakeru ties Naho's headband for her, and she does the same for him. The letters predicted with all the families here watching their kids. Kakeru felt down having no one watching him. He even lied to the friend group in the original timeline, saying his mother was working. With the friend group's families all showing up, Takako asked about Kakeru's. He answered that his parents divorced when he was younger, so he had no father around, and that his mom was working, exactly as the letters predicted. But his grandma showed up, because Suwa had his parents bring her over, and Kakeru sure was happy. After the tug-of-war finished, the red team now lost their second event. The friends were getting ready to have their picture taken, giving Kakeru PTSD over how his mother used to take pictures of him. He may have smiled for the shot, but it wasn't genuine. His grandma noticed he seemed out of it, but she wanted him to have fun, saying his mother's watching too, from heaven. While chatting with Naho, her mother wondered which boy it was she had her eye on, and looking over at Kakeru, Mrs. Takamiya picked up on it right away. She teased that she should say hi to him, but it's crazy how even in the crowd of happy people, Kakeru still felt all alone. The friends had a huddle, knowing he still seemed down about his mother. He had admitted her passing to both Suwa and Naho, but they needed to find a way to have him be open with the rest of the group. The next event was the boys' pole toppling game, and with Suwa taking off his shirt, revealing his shredded body. Even girls on opposing teams were cheering for him. Saku had a different idea for showing his physique though. Getting ready for the event, Suwa asked Kakeru if he was worried about another guy asking Naho out. However, Kakeru answered he'd be more worried if she started dating him. He didn't know if he'd always be here. He might move again. He continued on the idea that he might just disappear someday, and how hard that'd be on her. Suwa asked if that's how he really felt. What if he asked her out instead? But Kakeru said that'd be fine. The competition began, and watching Kakeru, Naho thought he really looked the best out there. The red team boys ended up taking the pole, claiming the event victory, and coming back all scratched up. Naho tended to Suwa, Since she was in charge of first aid, she wanted to take a look at Kakeru next, but when she reached out, he slapped her hand away for some reason and shouted he was fine. Realizing he overreacted, he then apologized and walked away. Naho wondered if she did something wrong. However, Suwa assured her this was all going according to plan. By himself, Kakeru kept thinking about how he gave Suwa the okay to date Naho, but that's not how he really felt. During event lunch break, the girls showed up in cheerleading outfits. Azu asked if they were cute, and all three of the boys answered no. Aw, Naho started tearing up a little. As the girls left, Suwa started freaking out because in reality, the boys really liked the short skirts. Later, with Naho and Kakeru taking care of a task assigned by a teacher, Saku tells the rest of the friends his letter explained that Kakeru's ankle was hurt. The two had to carry a heavy pad, putting it down for a sec to take a break. Picking it back up, Kakeru was really feeling the strain on his ankle, but assured Naho he was fine. However, the rest of the friends showed up to help them carry. Suwa called Kakeru an idiot for not telling them his ankle was hurt, and he wondered how they knew. The friends then asked why he was so down, and this caused him to think of when Suwa said he needed to be more open with them. He then admitted his mother died to the entire group, and he wasn't sure if he was allowed to have fun, because his mother might be watching from heaven. If she were still alive, she would have been here today. He's certain that right now, his mother is very sad. So should he be laughing like he didn't have a care in the world? Azu and Takako thought he should be laughing, otherwise his mother would worry. Saku added just look at how worried they were right now, reasoning Kakeru's mother would be even more worried. They then told him to get his ankle treated, and that if he ever had something heavy to carry, like this pad, he didn't have to carry things by himself. They'd always be there for him. So he let go, while all his friends took it away. Before the relay began, Naho offered to switch her headband with Kakeru. And if you guys know anything about red ties in Japanese culture, this is like a symbol of destined lovers. The relay began, and each friend passed to the next, also delivering a message started by Suwa. When it came to Naho giving the baton to Kakeru, she told him the messages from all of them. Don't lose, promise me, we'll always be together, even 10 years from now. And Naho adding her own, saying they'd all be waiting for him. Kakeru bolted with the thoughts of his friends in his mind. The friends then got behind the finish line to cheer him on, and he ran right through, taking first place. They were so proud of him and happy to have won the competition for their class. Afterwards, Grandma Naruse congratulated them, saying this was just like Kakeru's athletic meet in preschool. No matter how many pictures his mother would take, he never seemed to smile. His mother was often worried about him, knowing she had divorced young. But Kakeru had also won the race back then, and finally smiled. When the mother saw that, she was overjoyed, and the grandma was sure she was overjoyed even in heaven. Later, Kakeru asked to keep Naho's headband, and apologized to Naho for slapping her hand back at the first aid station. When he saw Suwa getting treated, he got a little jealous was all. Naho was just glad he wasn't mad at her. She then offered to bandage him up, and she placed it on his shoulder. That's when he gave her a light peck on the side of her head, claiming his reward for winning. With him running off, Naho touched her face like she couldn't believe it, all while Suwa was flustered, secretly watching. The next day, the friends were going over all the photos they wanted to keep from the school competition. Naho wanted the picture of Kakeru smiling, so he took the one in her cheerleading outfit, making her flustered attempting to take it from him. Kakeru then thanked them all for the message during the race, but wondered why they specified 10 years from now. Azu answered he'd understand someday. Back in the future, Suwa stared at a picture of Kakeru smiling with his mom. He wished he could have apologized to him. He wanted to say he was sorry for depriving him of his future and for stealing Naho. The friends didn't know if Kakeru knew how Naho felt about him, but all wished they could have helped him. They would have easily sided with Kakeru if they'd known he was gonna die. Suwa was the only one who knew how Naho and Kakeru felt about each other, and yet he pretended not to notice. If Kakeru were alive, there might have been a future where he married Naho instead. Naho denied this though, saying even if Kakeru were alive, she still would have married him. She fell in love the moment Suwa confessed to her on New Year's Eve. Back in the past, with Christmas coming just around the corner, Kakeru asked Naho to hang with him on the eve, making her blush because it was just like they were dating. The friends then mentioned visiting the shrine together on New Year's Eve, but Suwa said he had something to do that day, Although Takako, Azu, and Saku could tell he was lying. Kakeru and Naho then ran off to get some taiyaki. And that's when Takako smacked Suwa with her bag. They confronted him about lying to not show up at the shrine with them, even though all of their letters said he'd be there. Takako read her letter that told her Naho and Kakeru fight over something on New Year's Eve, and Kakeru goes home early. Suwa comforts a crying Naho, where he also confesses his feelings. However, he's personally going to refuse it this time around. He felt there was no reason to tell her, since it wouldn't help in saving Kakeru. But Takako challenged this. Was he willing to give up his future where he married Naho? Suwa told her that had nothing to do with this world. Their world was a separate world from the one in their letters. He only got married to Naho because Kakeru died, so he's made up his mind to never tell her how he feels this time. On Christmas Eve, Kakeru's grandma suddenly got sick, so he and Naho ended up not seeing each other, which was already written in Naho's letter, but she now learned that the two would fight on New Year's Eve. At the shrine, the friends ask how the fight occurred, and Naho explains she supposedly said something that hurt Kakeru. She was just going to be more careful this time around. Kakeru then arrived, and the two complimented each other's scarves. Back at Suwa's place, he envisions how his letter reads. He holds Naho as she cries, thinking Kakeru hates her now. He tells her it's not true, and even if Kakeru did, that'd be okay because he'd always love her. Hanging out together, Naho worries about upsetting Kakeru the entire time. The two end up alone to get drinks for the friends, and walking along the way, Kakeru apologizes for bailing on her during Christmas Eve, but she was fine with it. She then asked how his grandma was doing, and he explained she had a cold that almost turned to pneumonia, and they had to go to the hospital. If something happened to her, he felt he'd be all alone again. Naho knew that because of her letters, his grandma would still be alive 10 years from now, so she told him his grandma would be fine. Kakeru suddenly stopped, saying that's what he thought about his mom. It definitely upset him, but he just played it off. He then asked if it'd be okay for him to go home early tonight. He was still worried for his grandma and wanted to be with her. Naho was scared to leave him alone right now, so she asked him if he'd stay a little longer and told him his grandma would be all right again. This set Kakeru off. He asked how she could know, since it was the same on the day of the opening ceremony. She couldn't possibly know. He had no idea how much his mother was suffering. She was in so much pain that she chose death, and he thought she was fine. He blamed himself for leaving his mom all alone. He blamed himself for killing her. Realizing he just lashed out at Naho, he apologized. Beginning his leave, Naho grabbed onto him, and he pulled his arm away. He didn't want to talk anymore. He told her to stay away from him, and left as she cried. As Suwa walked outside, his friends went on about how they wanted him to confess his feelings, and they'd figure out a way to save Kakeru regardless. They were rooting for him too. He hung up, happy because he thought no one was on his side. He ran to a sobbing Naho and held her, telling her it'd be alright. If Kakeru ever said he hated her, he'd grab him and haul him to Naho just like he did last time. Suwa promised to watch over the two to make sure they'd never drift apart, and told her not to be scared, but instead to keep moving forward, to treasure the time she has with Kakeru. He then ushered her away, and she ran to look for him. She called Kakeru, hoping to save him from closing his heart. However, he just smashed his phone, breaking it so he couldn't answer. At the end of his first year of high school, Kakeru's mother told him they were moving to Matsumoto. It was like she always made decisions without his input, like when she threw out his sports bag and soccer cleats, which really pissed him off. He felt he wasn't allowed any input starting when he was young and she divorced his father. When he first got invited by the friend group, his message from his mother was bothersome, so he decided to forget about his mom for a moment to have fun, thinking he could apologize later. However, that was the last conversation he'd ever have with his mother. Nobody at school knew that his mom died, and even with someone dying, it's not like the world would change. Watching his classmates lose the softball game, and Azu blaming herself, he thought back to when his teammates from his previous high school blamed him and told him he wasn't needed on the team. He tried his best to forget it. They lost the softball game because Naho didn't accept her pinch hitter position. Kakeru felt she reminded him of himself. That drove his curiosity in her. He didn't join the soccer club, despite having fun playing with Suwa. He wanted to honor the promise he made to his mother. He had so much fun laughing with all his friends. He didn't want them to know about his troubles or his pain, so he decided to keep it all to himself. He didn't want them to hate him. When his friends from Tokyo came to visit, they apologized for not helping him when he was bullied by the upperclassmen during soccer club. They probably didn't like Kakeru because he was a first-year ace. The friends were then shocked to learn Kakeru didn't play soccer at his new high school, but when he told them it's because his mother committed self-end and how every day was a struggle and he couldn't forgive himself, his friends laughed it off. Asking if that was some kind of joke, Kakeru went along with it, but at home by himself, he was deeply hurting with no one to confide in, so he did something with the towel he was crying into and ended up going to the hospital. His grandmother urged him to visit the doctors again, and he angrily refused, but realizing he was hurting her, he apologized. He felt he needed to get his act together, stand up straight, look ahead, and live, but failing the relay race, he felt another thing was his fault. If he had died before all this, he wondered how the world would have been without him. His friends were originally a group of 5 anyway. They'd just go back to that. Maybe he should have been alone all along. Naho tried to console him on New Year's Eve, but she had no idea of the sins he was bearing. She tried to stop him from leaving, but she didn't know a damn thing. He left, not wanting to hurt her anymore. People often say, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but he couldn't see the end, because living itself was so painful. If it had released him from his regrets, he'd be fine dying right now. On the school rooftop, Suwa told Kakeru he confessed to Naho and asked if he'd do the same. However, Kakeru said he didn't feel that way about her, and almost thought she and Suwa should just get together already. But of course, that wasn't true. When Valentine's Day came, Kakeru learned Naho was giving her chocolates to someone she liked, and saw her standing with Suwa. Remembering their time alone in the library, he wished he had talked to her so much more. He wanted to get close to her. He wanted to walk together with her. He wanted to apologize to her. One evening, while going through his mom's things, he found her cell phone on top of a box. It seems his mom did read his message to her, but why didn't she reply? In her drafts, he found a message to him that read, I went to the hospital by myself. Have you made new friends already? There are many things I have to apologize to you for. When you were little, I knew you loved your father, but I divorced him anyway, and for that, I'm sorry. But he was a violent man, and I couldn't stand to see him hurt you. That's why I divorced him. I noticed you were getting bullied by the other kids in your club. I thought changing schools would solve the problem, so I moved us to Matsumoto. I was afraid you'd get hurt again, so I didn't want you to join any clubs. I'm sorry for being so selfish. I never once considered your feelings. The one hurting you was always me. From now on, I want you to have fun, Kakeru. I want you to do what you want to do. I'm sorry for getting in the way. He cried and quickly sprinted outside, riding his bike as hard as he could. He continued blaming himself, wondering what happens when you die. Do your regrets leave? Are your sins atoned for? Would he be able to see his mom and apologize to her? Would anyone even be sad if he died? Would something good have happened tomorrow? Who did Naho give her chocolate to? But going forward into the light, none of that mattered anymore. After Kakeru died, the friends had fewer chances to get together and talk. Getting together like this today and talking about him restored their connection. Naho had come here every year with Suwa. The friends had all promised they'd go to Mount Kobo and see the cherry blossoms together. Turning back to past Naho, after winter break, returning to school, she learned they couldn't talk like they used to. She tried to contact Kakeru during break, only to learn his phone broke. He kept his distance from her. She tried to apologize to him for what happened. She spoke out of selfishness without knowing how he felt. Kakeru accepted it, apologizing himself for saying harsh things to her. He didn't think she did anything wrong and was sorry for making her worry. So with everything supposedly fine, she asked to walk home with him after school. He first made the excuse that he had practice and couldn't. Then, when she said she'd wait for him, he made the excuse that they wouldn't be done until it was dark, and told her they could walk another day. It was clear he was being polite, but had no intention of walking home alone with her. Kakeru continued to push off interacting with her, even taking a pencil from his neighbor in front instead of Naho. She could only sit in class miserably and contemplate how to get things back to the way they were with no solution in sight. She began to cry as the teacher called on her to answer the next question. Kakeru noticed it and decided to answer in her stead, and the rest of the friends were just as miserable. In the future, the friends were all fighting over how they would have saved Kakeru. Suwa told them to stop fighting because Kakeru was there with them today, but Azu cried because he clearly wasn't. Meeting here at Mount Kobo without him wasn't keeping their promise in her eyes. The friends all wanted to undo the past, and that's when Saku brought up a place on Earth where people theorized to be a black hole. The friends then became encouraged, wanting to send their letters through this location, all with the hopes of changing the future. It's February 14th, the day before Kakeru dies. All the girls had made Valentine's chocolate in home ec. Naho had specifically made chocolate for Kakeru, without letting anyone know. She was determined to give it to him in this life. Her original plan was to give him the chocolate and tell him how she felt, but even with plenty of chances, she just couldn't start the conversation. Originally, Kakeru had seen her with the chocolate and asked who she was giving it to, but in this life, he didn't. He came back around, holding chocolate from a first-year girl, but when Naho told him no, he just laughed, saying to relax because he wasn't going to go out with her, and then left. The third time they were supposed to interact was at a vending machine. However, Kakeru was hiding from her. The fourth time would be her last chance. After school, Naho went running through the halls to find Kakeru, accidentally tripping down the stairs. With her chocolates damaged, Ryo scoffed at it, of course mocking the broken box. No matter what though, Naho was going to see the man she loved. The chocolates weren't what was important, it was changing the future. At his shoe cubby, Kakeru saw a note from Naho, telling him not to go home without letting her give him something. Naho made it to Kakeru, asking him to wait, since she couldn't give what she wanted to him right now. However, he refused, saying it was fine and didn't need it. Kakeru tried to take off, but she stopped him. Naho's future self told her about the final text she got from Kakeru, about how he felt bad getting angry with her on New Year's Eve. She originally sent a reply, but didn't know if he read it or not, so she wanted this Naho to tell him what was in her message. Naho asked why Kakeru was avoiding her, to which he answered it was because he hurt her. She replied, "I'm not hurt. I thought I was the one who hurt you, but it's hard now, not being able to talk like we used to. I don't care if I get hurt or if we fight. I just want to talk to you. It's my fault. I'm sorry, Kakeru." He told her it wasn't her fault and wrapped his scarf around her. He felt weak, so he always ran away. He was afraid he'd hurt her and hate himself for it. Truth is, he did want her chocolate, and when she asked him to walk home together, he was thrilled. When she kept trying to tell him good morning, he was so happy. He honestly wanted to be with her. Naho hesitated at first, out of habit, but then told him, "I want to go out with you. I felt like I knew you, but really, I didn't know anything about you at all. That's why I want to get to know you better. The things you enjoy doing, the things that make you happy, I want to know them all." Kakeru wasn't looking at her directly, as he reminded her he wasn't going to date anyone. So she objected, reminding him that he said if she asked him out, he would agree. He told her he couldn't make her happy, so she rebutted that with, "As long as you're happy, I'll be happy." He then told her he might lie and run away from her again. She responded she didn't mind, and held him close, letting him know he could tell her everything. Kakeru admitted he hated himself. He couldn't forgive himself, and sometimes he wanted to throw it all away. He didn't know what he was living for, and felt he couldn't go on like this. He wanted to be strong. He wanted to be happy. Naho responded, "Let's do that. I'll make you happy, Kakeru. As long as you're happy, that's enough for me. Let's live our lives together." Letting her take the burden off his shoulders, Kakeru held her back. Naho felt if she were to get close to Kakeru, he'd disappear. She thought if she touched him, he might shatter. With a much lighter expression now, Kakeru asked her to give him the thing she's holding behind her back. She was embarrassed since it got crushed. Above from the school window, the whole crew wanted to know Kakeru's answer to Naho, to which he happily replied it was a yes, and took her hand for all of them to see. In the classroom, Takako asked if Suwa was sure about not telling Naho his feelings. Suwa was fine with it though, because his future self was already living the dream. He felt this world existed so Kakeru could be happy, and didn't want Naho to know a thing about him being married to her in their other future. On Kakeru's fated last day, he asked Naho to eat lunch with him alone. The friends were happy and encouraging, but still worried he might try to self-end. On the rooftop, Naho handed him a lunch she prepared, and he was excited given he hadn't had one from her in a while. She then pulled out the hairpin he gave her. It was her personal treasure. Everything he did for her was a treasure. The friends wanted to walk home with him after school, but they couldn't because he needed to visit the hospital for his grandma. They were still worried knowing at 8 p.m. was the fated time. Saku suggested they destroy his bike, but they settled on waiting for him at the intersection when the time came. A little after 7 p.m., Kakeru prayed at his mother's photo. He went through the closet where his mother's old photos were and found her cell phone. At 7:35, the friends were all waiting by the intersection where Kakeru would appear, hoping for the best. With their future selves having sent their letters, they were all just as hopeful. Naho wished she could have met Kakeru when he was little and instill him with love to be the happiest boy in the world. At 8:10 p.m., Kakeru still hadn't shown up. The friends decided to check at his grandma's place, learning he suddenly ran outside and she had no idea where he went. The friends were shocked because his bike was still there, but they decided to split up and search for him. Kakeru wandered by himself along the road, tears dripping down his eyes. Naho finally spotted him at a crosswalk, where she witnessed a truck coming to a screeching halt. Horrified, the friends all ran to where he had fallen over on the sidewalk. Suwa pulled him up, and even though he was teary-eyed, Kakeru was still alive. After reading his mother's message, he still wanted to disappear as an apology to her, but he just couldn't do it. He wondered what they would all think if he died. He thought something fun might be in store for tomorrow, too. It made him think, I don't want to die yet. He apologized, but wondered how they all knew he'd be here. That's when the friends began explaining the letters to him, as they all began to pull their letters out. They weren't the only ones who got letters from the future, though. There was one addressed to him as well from each of their future selves. Everyone from the future wanted to console him, wishing they had loved and protected him better. Everyone was filled with regret, losing him even 10 years after. Kakeru wondered if it was his fault, and Suwa told him yes, because if he died again, he'd never forgive Kakeru. They all then huddled in together with happy tears in their eyes. Walking back together, Azu asked why he didn't ride his bike, even though the letters said he would. Turns out he was going to, but it broke for some reason. That's when Saku said, "Seriously? Man, people do such despicable things." At that point, it was obvious who did it. We turn to a new day, where the friends are burying letters in a time capsule and discussing the idea of parallel worlds. Suwa's read, "Dear everyone 10 years in the future, how are you all doing? Are you still friends 10 years from now? Do you still laugh together? Do you have fun every day? What am I doing at this moment 10 years from now? Am I still playing soccer? Am I married to Naho? Am I truly living every single day?" And after burying the letters, Kakeru thanked everyone for saving him. Moving back to the original timeline, where Suwa was consoling Naho after Kakeru walked away from her on New Year's Eve, he told her he loved her more than Kakeru, making her push him away because she only loved Kakeru. She always loved him, so she ran away, apologizing. In Suwa's letter notes, he called himself a horrible person and wanted to apologize to Kakeru for taking advantage of Naho while she was weak. He went downstairs to his wife Naho to grab an envelope for his letters, and after giving him one, she asked if she should write that they married to her past self. He told her no, saying it wouldn't be fun if young Naho knew the future, and that his surprise proposal might go to waste. So, she agreed, and that's why she instead asked her past self to thank Suwa if she ever felt he was being kind to her. The friends all took their time writing letters to themselves, thinking of exactly what they wanted to say. They met up at the park, where Saku explained they were going to release their letters in this jar into the sea. Should it reach the Bermuda Triangle, the jar will experience a time leap. Assuming it reaches the past, they just need someone to find it and deliver the letters to a post office. So they left a note instructing the finder to deliver it there, adding further instruction for them to be delivered on a certain date. Saku was a realist about this whole thing. No matter whether or not the letters actually reached the past, their regrets would still remain. This would be just their way of making amends towards Kakeru. Suwa knew he was right. He didn't exactly believe in the supernatural either, but still hoped that they'd be delivered. The crew then drove to the beach and sent their letters in a bottle to where it'd hopefully be sent back in time. There was nothing certain, but they hoped. Moving to the past, after all the events that saved Kakeru had taken place, Kakeru asked Naho to head to a shrine with him alone. They made their prayers, and Kakeru took her here because he heard from Suwa this was a good place for couples. Elsewhere, the rest of the friends were hanging out together, learning that shrine was the place Suwa had originally proposed to Naho. Azu began tearing up, asking if he was really okay with this, telling him he was such a great guy who supported his crush. Takako told him he didn't have to give up. He didn't have to be such a nice person. However, Suwa told them he wasn't. In fact, he thought of himself as a horrible person. He only got close to Naho after Kakeru died, when she was weak and vulnerable. He told her nice things, pretending to be a good guy. He truly stole Naho from Kakeru and used talking about him as a way to get closer to her. In the original timeline, he and Naho prayed together at that very shrine, where he wished her a happy birthday afterwards. He admitted he probably couldn't beat Kakeru, but told her Kakeru wasn't here with them anymore. He was okay if she felt down and cried over him in the future, but vowed to bring her happiness whenever that would happen. So, she was his hope, and 10 to 20 years from now, he wanted to keep her laughing. That's where he pulled out his ring and proposed to her. Current Suwa felt it was unfair, putting himself before Naho. He didn't want her to hate him. That's why he pretended to be a nice person. The friends consoled him though, telling him that's not who he was today. They loved and cared for him too. After praying at the shrine together, Naho asked Kakeru what he prayed for. He told his mom he made really precious friends, and that she shouldn't worry about him because he's having fun in the soccer club. He also prayed he'd be together with Naho forever. She was excited because she prayed for the same thing, and also wished they'd still be smiling 10 years and beyond. He thanked her for everything, and Pinky promised it was his turn to make her happy. Future Suwa knew Kakeru wasn't someone who actively pursued his own happiness. Naho was the same way. Given their passive personalities, it was amazing they could even make it together. But, even married to the girl of his dreams, his life would have been even better if Kakeru were still alive. Regardless, he regretted not seeing a future where Kakeru and Naho were laughing together happily. We now see Naho 10 years in the future at Mount Kobo, with Kakeru, who brought her drinks and snacks. Suwa then came down, bringing their little baby along with him. Naho tried to take him, but he just buried himself in Suwa's shirt. He truly was fond of their child. With the friends all celebrating another hangout together, Azu announced that she and Saku were now dating. He was too flustered to say anything, so they all just cheered. Walking out, they then saw the beautiful sunset together, just like they promised. It was the orange that reminded Kakeru of Naho's hair, the beautiful scenery he had wanted to see all along. The friends weren't done yet though. Kakeru wanted to send a letter to his past self and his mom, telling him he's happy now, and a day would come when they'd be glad to be alive as well. And all the friends teared up, wanting to join in. We turned to the other future Suwa and Naho. They had woken up, having the same dream about the other timeline where everyone was together, where Kakeru thanked them for the letters. And wow, what an ending to this series. This show tackled a lot of dark themes about insecurity and depression. It's tough because you want to save a character like Kakeru, and there's a sense of frustration in him not understanding that he was loved and wanted the entire time by his friends. But because he wasn't so open about what he was going through, no one could help. He hated who he was and blamed himself for something that was really out of his control. But I'm glad he and Naho had a happy ending. I think Suwa had it the worst though, because to me, he's kind of a loser in both timelines. In the main story, he doesn't get with Naho even though he has feelings for her. And in the future, he gets with her while still being second to Kakeru. I don't know about you guys, but in my heart, I wouldn't be happy getting with a girl who I only won because she couldn't get the guy she really wanted. That's just how I feel though. Let me know what you all think. Also, watch this next video. It's me, ComfyTea. I'll see you all in the next one.